Tonight, an ABC premiere presentation.
She's dead. Wrapped in plastic.
Look, you guys, please, what did I do? What's going on?
Entering the town of Twin Peaks.
FBI.
Right.
Something troubling you, Bobby? You want to tell us about it?
Oh, God. You think I killed her?
There it is. Oh, my God, here it is.
Twin Peaks. Next.
Sheriff, we got a lot to talk about.
Hi, my name's Lynn Raja. I used to watch Twin Peaks when I was still at secondary school in the 90s. I used to watch it on a little black and white TV set from my box room. Tune in every Tuesday night, I believe, on BBC Two. Loved the theme tune, and I loved Agent Cooper. I loved the way Carl McLaughlin portrayed the character. Very charming, very diplomatic. Plus, I had a big crush on him at the time. And a few years ago, I went to the Twin Peaks Festival, which was brilliant. I dressed up as Audrey and got to meet Sherilyn Fenn, which was amazing. Such a great show, weird and wonderful, but I love it. And happy anniversary, Twin Peaks. And thank you, Frank Cronogue, for letting me participate in your podcast. Thank you.
This is Noah from Berlin, Germany. I came to Twin Peaks 1.5 years late, as it didn't premiere in Germany until September 91. I came to it quite accidentally. While channel surfing, I happened upon the title sequence, and I was immediately hooked. Between the beautiful cinematography and the soft yearning of the show's theme, I just couldn't look away. To this day, whenever I see that little bird sitting on its branch and Badalamenti's music starts up, I feel like I'm coming home. The music was the first thing I loved about the show. The second was its timelessness. All music, save for the odd country song on the radio in the diner, was either written by Badalamenti or decades old. Most of the cars the townspeople drove predated the late 80s, early 90s significantly as well. Here was a town that seemed to have fallen out of time, and what a town it was. Twin Peaks held a delicate balance between the profound and the absurd, abhorrent ugliness and breathtaking beauty, deep warmth and horrific cruelty. This perfect equilibrium it achieved was just what I needed at the time. 2 years after the death of my father, here was a show with enough darkness to satisfy my cynical, wounded heart, and enough light to help it heal. And I loved it for that. I loved this little town where horror and the mundane lived side by side, because evil in the woods, drug-dealing, wife-beating truckers, shady hotel owners, daughter-raping, murderous spirits be damned. I just wanted to live there, under those trees, in those woods. Visiting the North Bend Snoqualmie area decades later felt like a homecoming. And I realized I didn't love this place because Twin Peaks had been shot there. I loved Twin Peaks because of this place, where the trees are truly majestic and the birds do sing a pretty song.
Hi everyone, Stuart Strauss here. I played one of the woodsmen in Twin Peaks The Return. I gotta tell you, I was a fan of the original series. I watched it all right from the start, and when I got a chance to actually work in The Return, that was something else. And the first time I saw Kimmy Robertson and Kyle and everyone else on set, it was a real treat, and getting to meet all those folks for the first time was quite a treat too. I'll have fond memories forever of the shoot, but let me say this. After watching the pilot again, just yesterday, the original pilot, 30 years to the day, it was a whole different experience. And most of that was because I got to go to the Twin Peaks Festival in 2018 and actually visit most of those original locations. So watching the pilot and seeing all those places and recognizing them added quite a bit to the viewing. Anyhow, like so many others, I hope for an opportunity to work with David again. And may or may not happen, but there's lots of other things that I hope to be doing as well. So I hope everyone is well, and we all get together again before too long, in person, up close and personal, and enjoy some damn fine coffee and cherry pie. So until that time, I bid you adieu.
Hi, my name's Barry from Bournemouth, and what do I love about Twin Peaks? I think first and foremost it's the characters, just the depth to them and the warmth and that homely feeling you get from them, and being in their town, especially in the first and second series, you really get a sense that you're part of the town as you're watching it, and I really love that. You just can't help but fall in love with both the town and most of its people. Not all of them, but most of them. And I think it's that comfort level that I really enjoy about it, and others do too. So yeah, that's what I love.
Hi, I'm Courtney Stallings. I'm from Los Angeles, California, and I'm the senior editor of the Blue Rose magazine and the author of Laura's Ghost, Women Speak About Twin Peaks. I first watched Twin Peaks when it originally aired when I was in high school. I rarely watched TV at the time, so it's amazing I ever caught an episode. When I watched the pilot and the first few episodes, I was initially taken by the melodramatic soap opera elements of the show. And of course, I was really interested in the mystery of who killed Laura Palmer. But what really sparked my interest as I kept watching was the surreal, dreamlike world of the Red Room. I'd never seen anything like it. A dream world broadcast from my parents' 1980s Zenith TV. There was just something about this untimely, out-of-time, liminal space that just caught my attention and seemed to come from the depths of my soul, from my very dreams. I'd never seen anything like it, and I don't think I ever will again. What kept me going was this other world of the Red Room and the mystery of Laura Palmer's murder, and of course, Agent Dale Cooper, who I just immediately fell in love with, not just as a young girl having a crush, but just in the sense that he was a beautiful person inside and out. And I love that he was both perfect and imperfect in the way that he approached the world. David Lynch and Mark Frost took us to places that allowed us to dream, and took a serial TV show that was about a soap opera and a cop drama, and made it into something much larger, made it into art.
Okay, hi, I'm Richard Austin, and this is my Twin Peaks memory. I suppose it really comes from after the show finished, because I wasn't quite ready to let it go. It had become such a great part of my life that I wanted to kind of continue it in some way. So in amongst waiting for the VHS tapes to be released and picking those up from Smith's, I had all kinds of little rituals that I would go through to do with the show. That was stuff like eating donuts and having candles and maybe eating raw carrots like Ben Horne. And my prized possession was a dictaphone, which I got from my dad. He kind of had it lying around the house and didn't have much use for it, but I sure found a use for it, because I took that and some tapes and I just proceeded to kind of document my life for about 6 months to a year after the show finished. I would take this thing to school, I would take it to away, I would take it out, I would speak to it in my room, I would address all my thoughts to Diane. Diane, this is Richard and I'm doing something. can't remember what I was doing. I'd love to hear those tapes. I don't know where they've gone. They've vanished in amongst house movings and things like that, so they're probably lost forever. But it would be a great insight into kind of 15-year-old me to get hold of those tapes and find out what I was talking about, what I was telling Diane. Anyway, so that's my Twin Peaks memory. Thanks very much for listening, and goodbye.
Hi, it's Tarja from Finland. So, happy anniversary, Twin Peaks. I saw the show for the first time about 30 years ago. I'm so grateful to my mom that she let me watch it, because I was just a kid and it was scary. I think the scariest thing for me was the Black Lodge. I didn't understand it at all. The weird little man dancing and the way he spoke. And the room itself. It was distressing. But then again, later on, I think that is the thing that inspired me the most. So I've been making these Black Lodge short films with my sister Merja. We even learned to talk backwards, and it's been great fun. But the best thing is this incredible Twin Peaks family all over the world. And the show, you can always rewatch it and never get bored. I love it. So thank you, Twin Peaks, and thank you, Frank, for doing this. Okay, bye.
Hey there, this is Christoph Zajac Denik. I play Ike the Spike on the return season of Twin Peaks. And I just want to say it's still the best project I've ever worked on in my life. I feel so humbled and honored to have been a part of such an incredible piece of work with such an incredible crew, an incredible captain / director, David Lynch. And I've been a huge David Lynch fan for so many years, and to have the opportunity to work on one of his projects, it still baffles me and blows my mind. I think the coolest thing that stands out to me is my last day of shooting, where it was pretty much all me on the day, and for an actor who's getting his footing in Los Angeles and Hollywood, that's a pretty monumental thing to share the day with such incredible actors, and to have such a focus on myself and be treated as respectfully and as wonderfully as everyone did. I'll never forget it, and I don't know if there will be ever anything that can top it. So yeah, just a couple thoughts from me on Twin Peaks, and happy 30th to Twin Peaks and to all the Twin Peaks cast, crew, and of course the fans and friends of Twin Peaks. So we love you all. I love you all. Thank you so much for letting me be a part of this project. Thanks.
My name is Lindsay Bowden, and I am the founder and producer of the Twin Peaks UK Festival and a lifelong Twin Peaks fan. Twin Peaks for me is something of a love affair that's lasted a lifetime. I was 14 when Twin Peaks first came out and completely loved it, completely understood it as much as you can. And I loved all the characters, not just the sort of main Agent Cooper and Laura Palmer. I loved all the characters. I understood all of them. I felt like I knew all of them. And that's down to brilliant writing. There are so many wonderful moments in Twin Peaks that I love, like the llama in the veterinary clinic with Agent Cooper and Sheriff Truman is a wonderful piece of accidental comic timing. I think we all love that one. But I think my favourite scene in Twin Peaks would probably be Maddie's murder. I had never seen anything so graphic on TV before. And it was so brilliantly acted and written. Cheryl Lee in that scene is just phenomenal. And the scene itself is powerful. It's scary. It's haunting. It's romantic almost. Grace Zabriskie, Frank Silver, Ray Wise, and Cheryl Lee. You've got 4 powerhouses there. And it still slightly blows my mind that Frank Silver was part of the crew and became a TV legend. It's so many different elements to that one scene, like the hallucination of the white horse, the dancing in the living room, the switch in the mirror, the actual mirror scene where Maddie's killed. There are so many different elements of that scene that make it a story within itself and make it just so powerful. That I think it had a real effect on most people, I think, who watched that scene. So although that's my favourite scene in Twin Peaks, my favourite character is definitely Wyndham Earle, played by the incredible Kenneth Welsh. And I love Ken. He came to the Twin Peaks UK Festival in 2019 and he was just absolutely fantastic, a massive ball of energy and funny, so funny. And he's a really, really brilliant actor anyway, one of my favourites anyway. But playing Wyndham Earle, he played him so brilliantly. Wyndham Earle is the very sort of epitome of evil and mind playing. He's the master of disguise, but you really like him because he's also quite charming, quite funny. So you're slightly rooting for him in a weird way. And I just thought Ken really brought to life those words on a page, and he's just a very well written character. So there are so many little quirks in Twin Peaks that I could go on about, and so many, nice performances from people. I really could talk about it. It's had an effect on me. Obviously, I wouldn't have created a festival out of it if I hadn't. And who knows whether it will carry on, but its legacy will certainly carry on, and that's for sure.
Hey, Frank, it's Chris. Why did I fall in love with Twin Peaks, man? It's the duality that spoke directly to me and what I fell in love with all those years ago with the show. The White Lodge, Black Lodge, the Leland Bobs, the good coops, bad coops, it just spoke straight to me, man, for a variety of reasons. Amazing about Twin Peaks, though, particularly since the return, is the community that's built around it. It's just, it's just takes my breath away sometimes, the commitment the community has to the show and the love and the reverence it has for the characters is just like another fandom, man. Like I've said to you before, I've never been a fandom person. I'm a lone wolf, but, the Twin Peaks community is just the one exception to that. It's just such a great community to be a part of. So, hope it goes on forever. See you later, man.
Hi guys, it's Lisa Coronado. I played the hit and run mom on episode 6 of The Return, or part 6. And just wanted to say hello and wish Twin Peaks a happy 30th anniversary. I know it's definitely made a huge impact in my life. The biggest being welcomed into the wonderful Twin Peaks family, and how incredibly kind and generous and talented and funny the whole fandom is, and to feel so welcome. So thank you guys so much. I look forward to celebrating every year with you, and hope you have I hope you have a damn fine cup of coffee and a slice of cherry pie. Bye.
Hi guys, welcome to this very special podcast, which is celebrating the 30th anniversary of Twin Peaks, which aired for the first time on ABC on April 8th in 1990. And of course, all these years later, has still endured. and people are still talking about it. People are still watching it, going to events, and so on. And the popularity hasn't in any way diminished. So for this, I'm absolutely delighted to have two guests from the series, and I will introduce them now to you. She played the German waitress with the infectious giggle in the Double R, and we knew her then as Heidi, but of course we have her here today in her real incarnation of Andrea Hays. How are you, Andrea?
Oh, just swell. How are you?
I'm doing great, thank you. Yeah, lovely to have you. And my God, where do I start with this fella? He wore it well. He was a man of many colours. He was the head of men's fashion in Horn's department store. He is Richard Tremaine, but of course we know him as Mr. Ian Buchanan. How are you, Ian?
I'm very well, thank you, Frank. It's very nice to be here with you both.
Lovely to have you in. And now, right, I'm going to throw just a few questions out and see how we go with it. And anyone can start. It's going to be the same sort of question for both of you. So I'd like to ask you first, how did you get the role in Twin Peaks?
Go ahead, Andrea.
Oh, well, I'm usually behind the camera doing costumes, and my friend Liz Yaffe did the local casting up here in Seattle, and she called me one day and says, "Oh, Andrea, I did something bad." I'm like, "What did you do?" And this was her first big casting thing, and the role called for a large German girl who could giggle and blush easily, and she put a photo of me in the stack. She was trying to make it look like she had more actresses for the part. And then I got called in to audition, and I was like, okay, I'll come in, because it's like, I'll meet David Lynch. I really liked The Elephant Man. So, then the rest is history. So sorry, all you real actresses. Sorry.
Yeah, I actually was cast to do a Calvin Klein Obsession commercial and print campaign, and David was directing it, and with Lara Flynn Boyle. So it was Lara Flynn and I, and also I think James did one with somebody else. There were three different setups, three different couplings, pairings, and I worked with Lara Flynn, and we shot the commercial on the Saturday, and I think I got called in to read for, or just meet really, with Joanna, who I knew, Joanna Ray, and David, and a couple of the other, Harley Payton, I think, and probably, I can't remember who else was there. And then I started, a week later, started playing. But David, yes, when I didn't know what he was talking about, I hadn't watched the show, but David said while we were shooting the commercial in one of the little breaks, he was like, you'd make a good dick. And so okay, all right. I have no idea what that means, but all right. I'm assuming it's a compliment. I have no idea. So that's how I got the job. That's how I started.
Now, going back to Andrea here, because you were quite fortunate in hindsight, certainly, I think more now, because we know what the phenomenon is of Twin Peaks now. But at the time when the pilot was being filmed, no one knew probably how it was going to fare out until it got broadcast. So I'm just curious, what was from what you remember of it in the scenes you did, Andrea, what do you remember about the atmosphere on set for the very first story?
I was actually there on the first day of filming, too.
Yeah.
I was excited to meet Peggy Lipton because she was a childhood idol of mine from the Mod Squad, because weren't a lot of women like me on TV at the time, kick ass and take names. Emma Peel comes to mind, but Peggy Lipton was the other one. So I was just like, oh my God, I got to meet Peggy Lipton. So she was, of course, very nice. So yeah, no one knew it was like a pilot. It was 1989, so it's like, yeah, another pilot, and yeah, this guy has done a film, and blah blah blah, and he did Dune, and that was it. I knew Eraserhead, but most of the other people knew the commercial ones. So it was kind of, you just didn't know what was going to go on, and that it was going to that it was 30 years later, it'd still be so relevant.
How about you, Ian? Can you remember your first day on set, and what was that like for you? And who was directing you on that?
I do remember the first day. I remember the cast was pretty well set, because I think it was either the end of the first or the beginning of the second season. So I do remember, and by then there was a lot of focus around the show. But I hadn't read a script, which I'm sure that's, it continued that way. We'd only just get pages for whatever scenes we were in. And so I no real idea of what was going on, but I went to it was a studio that was actually an old warehouse out by Van Nuys Airport. And it was kind of like, it was interesting because, I was playing part of this. So from the beginning, I think it was set up part of a love triangle, like sort of very innocent. And I'd been doing soap opera. So it was kind of, to me, it was like a soap opera. The little part we were doing was like a soap opera. But I remember on the first day, being kept outside in the parking lot in our trailer and going to makeup. But there was a lot of people sort of limping by or sort of shuffling by with, all cut and bruised and covered in blood. And there were like buckets of fingernails inside the makeup room, but nobody could say what was going on. And I was like, this is like, it's almost, am I in the same show as what are these people doing? I had no idea. So my first day was definitely sort of isolated, not given too much information. I can't remember who was directing that first one. I mean, I should know, but every episode was such a great director, either Leslie Linka Glatter or Caleb Deschanel, or I can't remember who was directing that first episode, but it was great fun. I loved it, and I knew I knew a couple of the people. Of course, I knew Lara Flynn Boyle, but I knew a couple of people already on the show. So I knew Kyle from other stuff. So I was kind of like, I sort of jumped right in and was very comfortable there. So I loved it. I loved every bit of it. So.
Do you think it's quite a rare thing, you guys, in the acting business? I'm sure it happens now and again, that kind of frisson, not frisson, that kind of camaraderie you have with certain actors that you connect with on something for a certain amount of time, and you stay friends for years after the film you did with them. Was Twin Peaks very much like that for you?
For me, yes, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I've remained I'm close to Kimmy. I'm close to Harry. I adored Peggy, of course. I sort of, there's that thing that's very necessary when you are an actor and you jump from project to project. You do immediately, you kind of form your group and form your family, because, you're going to be together like 24/7 sometimes. And, but then when it's done, there's certain people you leave behind because it was only a working relationship. But because you are so close and you're kind of forced to connect so quickly, and because your instincts, I think, become pretty sharp about it, you form relationships which do stay in your life. I have most of my friends are people that I've worked with for 40 years, or going back 40 years. There's always, it's, I always kind of like, I always laugh because I think, like, if I go to work and start a new project, my first thought is, oh God, I hope I don't like anybody, because I do not need any more friends. And then suddenly, lo and behold, the end of it all, you end up with like one or two great people in your life.
Oh yeah, which is lovely, isn't it? When that happens, it's great, absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, even if you say, I'll never do that again, it's like, well, there you go. I just had it just before all of this happened. I had a Christmas party, and there was a lot of people I've known forever. And also at the Christmas party were a couple of people that I just worked with who were great, that I sort of know will be, part of my life. So it's nice. It's lovely.
And of course, the other side of that is if you don't like them, then it's like, oh, thank God we're done.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember somebody asked me like, must be great, going to work the same place, after I'd done maybe 7 years on a show. What makes it so good? And I said, well, the great thing about it is seeing the same people every day. And the worst thing about it is seeing the same people every day. So, it's the good and the bad of it, the people that you love to see and the people but then the negative, the negativity is kind of what also, it encourages the creativity, and also it just makes the world go round, I guess. I personally like being comfortable and happy and like being around people that I really like and that but it's, that's very fortunate if you get that all the time, but it doesn't always happen.
I've been working with a good group lately up here. I tend to hire the same crew a lot just because it's like, oh, I know I love working with them and they aren't whiny. I
hate that. Yeah. No, it's very important. It's kind of, it's, it's that whole, when you hear that little voice in amongst a group and they're basically saying, what about me? And, you want to say, well, it's actually not about you, so get over it. We're all in this together. It's about something else. So
it's like some actors too that I love working with. I'm like, hey, will you play this part? I don't need to audition. No, just come play it. So I have actors contacting me like, well, I worked with you on that last project. And I'm like, yeah, and you were late every day. And yeah, blind, and you just, yeah. So yes, I try to focus on the positive and try to surround myself with more positive people because an old prostitute once told me, life's too short to dance with ugly men.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
We have a good saying for everything in this world, don't we?
Well, that's what old prostitutes do.
Yeah, well, anyway. Right. That reminds me. You were saying about people favouring certain actors to utilise again in projects. That's the thing that David Lynch did an awful lot in other things he did as well. You tend to find many of the same actors appear with different roles in his films, and many of the production crew come back on board as well. Mm-hmm. So almost a little bit like a repertory company.
Yeah, I think. Well, yes, I think. I was. And also, I was very impressed and sort of by, David's, he sought out people who had been, had huge careers and then had sort of quite done a little bit and weren't, really doing as much as they had, like people like Piper and Russ Tamlin and Richard Beamer. And he, kind of took them out and gave them this great kind of, not that they needed it, but gave them this other kind of great third act in their life, which I think was so amazing. And, he continues to do that with, people that he discovered, like he then, goes and finds them again. And which I think is, it's, David never forgets anybody. So that's the great thing. He doesn't ever forget. And you're part of his consciousness, whether you're kind of actually in front of him or not. He doesn't really forget. I don't think he knows my real name, which is always funny. Either he calls me, I'm either Dick. If I see him at an event or socially, it's either, hey, it's Dick. Or
I can just imagine. I'm just hearing David's voice saying that now.
Or the other Lester, who I played in that other series that on the air I did with.
I love that series, by the way.
Huh?
I love that series.
Oh yeah, it was great fun. That was great fun.
Bozeman Complex, yes, that was.
Yeah, it was very complex.
I remember, Ian, when you came over to the Twin Peaks UK festival, and they premiered on the big screen in there. Everyone sat in this theatre. Do you remember that? And they
Yes,
showed.
I actually hadn't seen the whole. I'd gone to so many screenings of it, but usually we were sort of stuck on the red carpet. Never got to watch either the beginning or got pulled out to give interviews. So I'd never really seen it. Definitely not on the big screen. So it was very.
It was really good. It was episode 1 of On the Air that they showed, and the audience were just right on board with it, laughing their heads off throughout it, because it was just completely madcap,
Yes, it definitely was.
That was really good. That was a really nice moment there, Here's a question for both of you. Okay, we're zooming forward a wee bit here. In terms of your characters, okay, what do you think your characters would be doing today?
Well, in season 3, I was still working at the Double R, minus my hat. So I always joke that she has her own Etsy shop and makes her own toothpaste and crochets toothpaste cozies for people. So very into Etsy.
Yeah. How about you, Ian?
I probably, I would imagine Dick would be still in fashion somehow, but maybe running some kind of like D-list model agency, either in, don't think he would have made it as far as Europe somehow. I think he might have made it just across the border, maybe into either Vancouver or, and would definitely be kind of running some sort of, I don't know. I think it would be, unless of course he's got this phenomenal career someplace and is running like, a huge fashion house, but I find that hard to believe. I kind of think he would be, especially with his personality, which was certainly sort of bossy and a little obnoxious with other people. I think he probably is bossing people around he's probably like a big fish in a very small tank someplace.
Yeah, he owns his own men's warehouse.
Yeah, maybe. Or kind of a secondhand clothing store with, retro 80s stuff. Like
retro plaid.
Yeah, retro kind of thing, like being the authority on all of it, being kind of
yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe doing a few wine soirees in the back room or something.
Yeah, something like that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Boxes of wine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, here's a question for both of you. Did you ever think, looking back, that you'd be sitting here now, 30 years later, talking about Twin Peaks?
No, I thought I'd be driving around in a van solving mysteries. No, just kidding. No, I really didn't think it was, didn't think it would be this big of a phenomenon. And all the years later, people were still like, oh my God, Andrea was in Twin Peaks. And I almost get kind of embarrassed. And then when the 3rd season came up, it's like, okay, at least it's, on the air again. So yeah, because it was, I'd get very odd reactions when sometimes I'd know somebody for like 10 years and they didn't know I was on it. And then they'd start talking about it and somebody had mentioned it. And they're like, well, why didn't you tell me? I'm going, well, it never came up. So, so yeah.
Yeah, it's not like something you have to confess to.
Yeah. It's yes, okay, and no, I'm not my character.
I didn't know. Wasn't, because like everything else, it's like, and I've kind of gone from place to place and, show to show. And it's amazing how actually Twin Peaks has remained relevant, not only because of this last season, but it just has such a solid kind of core sort of fan base, and also people. It just is so intriguing, I think, for people. But I've been doing soaps for over 35 years, and equally, it's like there are people that I met 35 years ago that I still, kind of I get mail from, and there's a huge. So it's kind of it's the whole thing of just things which enter into kind of, it's just like almost pop culture, I guess. It's just this sort of phenomenon. Some things do last, and some things don't. I've seen other things that nobody remembers, and there's some things that even with it's kind of anything that's even close to sci-fi, of course, has a whole separate life now, which is kept alive by all of these incredible. I did one episode of Quantum Leap and 2 episodes of Stargate, and yet I could go to sci-fi conventions every weekend. It's extraordinary. And also Twin Peaks really is sort of kind of is a lot of that same thing. So it is pretty phenomenal. I think it's pretty astounding. But I wouldn't, who knows? 30 years ago, I wouldn't have second guessed anything. So I didn't, I just would be trying to pay attention to where I was supposed to be on the day. So
I was just trying to make it through nursing school.
Right.
That's the only reason I'm in the last episode of season 2 is David knew I was trying to make it through nursing school, and he's like, I bet this will get you a lot of tuition, it did. And
isn't that great? Yeah.
I was like, well, that's nice. He remembered. So I guess he would do that a lot. There was some art department people that were getting married, and so he gave them featured extras roles so that they could get some money for their honeymoon. So he was very, very nice.
Yeah, he's very good that way. Very nurturing that way.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
But just to wrap it up, guys, both of you anyway, because it's nearing the end anyway. Can you just give each of you? Could you just give some final thoughts on Twin Peaks and what it means to you, and as a message to the fans that have kept the flame alive and still support the show?
Yeah, I mean, I because of this present situation we're in, I kind of missed going to Cleveland 2 weeks ago. There was also something at Graceland, and I mean, I'm just. So, I mean, that's been postponed, and we'll probably do it at the end of the summer, where there'll be a few of us, we'll go and meet a group of fans. And I just think it's phenomenal. I think what Lindsay does in London is just so amazing with the festival, and also what they do here up in Snoqualmie. I've gone to that, and it's astounding. It's so great. It's so, it's the only thing I think, I've got to say, the only time I ever go to group, nobody comments on, oh my God, you don't look any older. Oh my God, you do look older. I can't believe it. You don't look 30 years older. It's the only time they're just so wrapped up in just the whole wonderful phenomenon of it, and also in the characters. And it's just such an ageist, wonderful celebration that I kind of love that aspect of it, because you don't really get much of that. So in our business, so I love that. I love that aspect of it. And I just hope it continues, and I'm there to be supportive of it and to be around whenever I possibly can be, because I love it. There's been nothing negative about it in my life. So it's been a wonderful, positive experience. So long may it continue, I say. And good health to everybody. Everybody stay strong, stay well. We have to follow the rules and get through all this. And I look forward to seeing everybody soon. I look forward to speaking to you again, Frank and Andrea. Lovely meeting you. And I am rushing out of here.
All right. Have fun.
Thank you.
Okay, Ian. Thank you so much for joining us. Take care.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Speak to you soon, Ian. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
So I'll just say same thing as Ian. I know going to the conventions with Rob and Deanne were just so wonderful. And because they were local, I was asked to go there, and meeting fans who were knew who I was. That's the thing that always blew me away, because it was a rather small part, and the fact that it's Heidi, I'm going, wait, you know who I am? Wow, you really watched this show. So I can always tell someone who's a true peak freak, as we used to call them. I guess some people don't like that term anymore. I think it's adorable, but that they knew who my character was. And so, yes, it's very, very nice. The fans have been very, very nice. Only, yeah, that's it.
Thank you, Andrea. Thank you so much for joining me as well. I do appreciate it very much.
All right.
It's been a nice conversation with both of you. And guys, I do hope you enjoyed this this little celebration I put together for the 30th anniversary of this phenomenal show that keeps on giving in many ways, you know. Still people are trying to unravel the mysteries of it, and still people are dissecting it, doing, you know, all sorts of, you know, reviews of it and everything else. So it's endured. It's amazing. And thank you so much for listening, guys. And hopefully when things are better, we'll all see each other again in those trees. Until then, goodbye.
Goodbye.